The really shocking thing is we've known about it. So it's one thing to sort of ignore something, it's another thing to be neglectful about it. And I think the country's been neglectful, including governments.
Thank you, Alan, for seeing us. It was really refreshing to actually hear you speak. We're not journalists, we're two parents of two children, one of them who will more than likely be NEET. He's been out of school now since he was 8 years old, and we worry about his future. And it's genuinely nice to hear people like yourself that really take the time to listen to families, listen to children. And I just want to thank you for coming today and obviously inviting us along to this.
It's a pleasure.
It's really important. I guess I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, throughout your review, what surprised you the most about why so many young people are NEET?
It's a great question. It's a million plus, and it's rising. It'd be great to think there was one thing, one silver bullet. If you could only deal with that, everything would be okay. It's just more complex than that, isn't it? So there's something going on in the jobs market for young people. So there are few job opportunities, in truth. We probably all grew up. Did you grow up with a Saturday job?
I did. I had a paper round.
I had a paper round. I got, that's the only job I've ever been sacked from.
Me too.
Did you? You get sacked?
I could get up in the morning all the time.
Exactly the same. I was 14. You're a 14-year-old. You're a 14-year-old lad, right? Guess what? You can't get out of bed.
I know.
So
it
taught me a big lesson, by the way, which is get out of bed.
It does, absolutely.
So no, that happened to me. That's so funny. But those jobs have disappeared a bit, in truth. And then there's a lot of things that are not right in the education system, as because you've been going through it, right? So there's a whole bunch of things that all come together. So the really shocking thing is we've known about it as a big problem. The NEET rate has barely been below 10% in about 20 odd years. So it's one thing to sort of ignore something, it's another thing to be neglectful about it. And I think the country's been neglectful, including governments.
Yeah.
So now they're not neglectful, because this is now a crisis. Crisis is an overused word, but this is, if you've got 1 in 7, 1 in 8 young people who are not in education, employment and training, that is a crisis, and we've got to deal with it.
Absolutely. Disabled and neurodivergent children are more significantly more likely to become NEET. Parents often tell us that early intervention and more flexibility within education and pathways, supported internships and employers give them a better understanding for neurodivergent people that would make a difference. So from everything you've seen during your review, what do you think needs to change most urgently to improve that picture?
I think it's a couple of things. I think this thing about getting in earlier, because it's often quite predictable. So when I was in Bradford, we were talking in Sheffield, not far from here, they've got this longitudinal study looking at young people's lives called Born in Bradford. Have you heard of this? It's amazing. No. So they've been following like thousands of youngsters over a couple of decades now. And unfortunately, they can probably predict at the age of 3 or 4 who's going to be NEET at the age of 16 and 17, which is just totally depressing. It's totally depressing, but it's also a call to arms, because if you know it, well, there's a risk. Why aren't we dealing with it? Why isn't the school system dealing with it better? Why aren't local authorities dealing with it better? Why isn't the welfare system dealing with it better? Well, the answer is because there is no system.
Absolutely.
Well, you must experience that, right?
Just talking for myself, with my experience with my 2 neurodivergent children and thousands of parents that we deal with, my son has been failed by the system. There's been local authorities that don't answer our calls, don't get back to us. He's suffered significant trauma at the hands of the education system, violence, bullying. He's been in and out of school for over 7 years. His mental health has dropped.
Is he 15, did you
He's
say?
15,
yeah.
Now, I've been his trusted adult. He's had no purpose to get up in the morning. And I think my question is how would the government obviously represent these children that fall into this, the some-betweeners that fall into this category, because there's so many now.
I think, and I think, I'm not from the government. I'm sort of reviewing what the government's doing, just to be clear. But I think the SEND changes are probably a step in the right direction, but they only work as part of a system.
Yes.
Right, because if it is, you must experience this every day, just endless, somebody from here, somebody from there, somebody from another part of the system. There is no system. What there is it's a spaghetti soup of institutions, organisations, people.
And there's no funding.
And it's not joined together anywhere. So if we're going to deal with these issues, and particularly, as you say, if you're going to get so-called upstream, if you're going to do prevention and not just treating the problem, so to speak, you know, when people fall into the welfare system, which is what happens for far too many young people, and then their life chances are ruined, to be honest. So we've got to have a single system where everybody's operating according to some shared outcomes, shared accountabilities, and a shared view, I think, that the young people who can participate should be enabled to participate, and opportunities have got to be available to them to participate. And I think the fundamental problem is that people complain about a shortage of effort on the part of young people and their families. It isn't that. There's loads of effort going in every day. The real problem is a shortage of opportunities and a shortage of support.
There was just one other thing as well, with mental health, was CAMHS.
Yes.
CAMHS is just overloaded. The children, we can't get the support for our children, and if we can't concentrate on their mental health, then
100%.
they can't thrive.
Yeah, I thought it was important to highlight the children that we call the send-betweeners. Have you heard much about these children?
Yes.
The ones that fall between the gap, that they're represented within the report, because I think, if anything, from the thousands of followers we've got and the questions that we've asked them, they feel that government has ignored them and that hasn't been represented. And those children that do fall between the gaps is getting wider and wider. And if they don't address it now, it's only going to get worse as time goes on. Children are not going to go into school, they're not going to get apprenticeships, they're not going to get jobs, and there's going to be a knock-on effect, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse as the years goes on. So it's recognising that early intervention early on, that by putting support in at an early age betters the outcome further down the road. And I think that just kind of leads me to another question, because I wanted to try and reach out to people within business, because I knew I was meeting you, and I wanted to have a meaningful question in regards to that, so that I could maybe bring something from the business world to you. And I spoke to, obviously, Charlie Mullins, who owns an OB, who's obviously quite a colourful character, and he's got his own ideas. But the one thing I respected about him was that obviously he's created a lot of employment for people over the years. He's paid a lot of taxes, and I wanted to ask him, as someone with all that experience and being an apprentice and coming up from obviously poverty, what he thinks about obviously what's going on at the moment. I said to him, what do you think? Was there anything you would like me to say to him? And he says, I believe the one single biggest thing government could do to reduce youth unemployment is invest much more heavily in government-funded apprenticeships. For everything you've seen during your review, do you think he's right, and should apprenticeships now become a bigger part of the solution?
Yes, in a word. Yeah. So honestly, I mean, if you look at Charlie's right, because he's got his experience from Pimlico Plumbers and all of that, and grown an incredible business. But also, if you look at other countries that have got far lower NEET rates than ours, one of the distinguishing factors is they invest and put a lot more effort behind vocational education, technical education, and critically apprenticeships.
Absolutely.
And so if you think about what's happened here in the last 10 years, the number of young people going into an apprenticeship has fallen by a third.
Yes.
Down by a third. Come on, guys. So I was on a visit with the Prime Minister to Derby to visit the railway, the people building the trains at Alstom, the only train manufacturer in Britain. It's an amazing place. And they have, the young people were telling me that I think there are 2,000 applicants every year for an apprenticeship there, and there's like maybe 100 places. So the demand is way outstripping the supply. So we've got to make a lot more opportunities available to young people. And it's not just like an apprenticeship. Different people are going to have different needs. So supported internships, which is like a way of just getting a feel for a bit of exposure to work, maybe some volunteering. Yes. Just to your point about your son, just so there's something that they can do and a bit of purpose, and we just can't assume that somebody's going to be able to go immediately from, I don't know, sort of, being stuck in their bedroom and able to get out, sort of riven with anxiety, all of that, and then suddenly get into full-time work. They're not. Yeah. So the question is, how do we build that pathway? How do we build the opportunities, and how do we give them the support to do it? And apprenticeships are a really big part of that.
Yeah, my son Joshua, he's although he's out of school, he comes to work with me 1 day a week. So I'm a computer engineer. So he comes, he earns a little bit of money, that incentivises him, and that's been really good for him. And it really resonated with us when you're saying it's having the right person, the right mentor, the right to, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a parent, whether it's someone with an apprenticeship, that right person can make such a difference to somebody's life. It can be life changing. And that's again what Charlie was saying, wasn't it? Trusted adult. Someone that believes in you.
Yeah, it is, because people need it's complex. Life's moving from education to employment is complex. It always has been, but it's got more complex now. And if you've got a whole bunch of sort of problems and issues and challenges and so on and so forth, you need somebody that's on your side that can help you. So it's not just about exposure to work; it's about somebody that can help you navigate your way through. We don't have that in the system by and large. We're here in Sheffield looking at the Peer Connector service, and it does that. That's like a little pocket of excellence, great, but really we should be thinking about how do we grow that absolutely everywhere.
It was interesting what you said out there, where you said being a politician you're optimistic.
Yeah. No, if you've been in politics, you've got to be optimistic. I'm not in politics anymore. But anyway, so I am, but I'm naturally optimistic. And honestly, do you know the thing that makes me most optimistic? Young people.
Yes.
Young people.
Yes.
Everybody's got something. Honestly, everybody's got something. Talent, potential, aspiration. And unfortunately, the way that the thing works, whether it's education or the labour market, it doesn't exist to get the best out of everybody. And that's what we need. That's the fundamental thing that we've got to change. And that's a mindset thing. Yeah. Everybody's got something. And how do we harness that? How do we help them? How do we enable that? How do we support them? How do you grow the opportunities for that? And honestly, I think this is entirely possible because the mood in the country's changed.
It has.
Honestly, people now know this is a massive problem and we can't go on like this. And sometimes you just reach that inflection point where people say enough.
Yes.
A million's enough.
I think with Andy Burnham coming in, I think we're online a lot, and there's a genuine feeling that there is change, which is not something that we've seen for a long time online. And it would be nice.
It does seem like Andy's for the people.
It does, and it would be. I think the problem we found up till now with ourselves, and even with Eva who's going to speak, is that we find that when we've tried to reach out to people in power to try and say, look, will you sit down with us? Will you listen to us families? We haven't been able to get that opportunity. Right. And I think you sitting here today, I'm hoping that gives us as a neurodivergent community and families of SEND children and SEND between us more of an opportunity to sit down and make that conversation really relevant, because I think I'm hoping in 10 years from now, it will be like it was in the 80s when people were like, cancer, what is it? We should be doing it. And now it's something we're on straight away. Yeah, I'm hoping it will be exactly the same thing for all these children.
That's the right aspiration, honestly. And I think this point about just listening to young people and families is so critical. So when I did my first report, which we published in May, if you read it, right at the heart of it is young people's voices. I went out and spoke to loads of young people. I had a team going out. We did polling of young people, polling of people who were NEET, what did they want to do in their lives. And what really, I was going to use a bad word, what really annoys me is when people say, oh, they're a soft generation, they're snowflakes, they're not interested. 84% of young people who are NEET want to be in work or training. Yeah. They want to be there. It's not a shortage of effort. It really isn't. It's help, support, enablement, opportunities, and that's what we've got to provide for them.
It's nice because you can see that you genuinely care. And what was it that we don't obviously feel the same with most people we've met? Is there something in your life? Has there been somebody that's neurodiverse, someone that's NEET, that's given you that drive to be so invested in what you're doing?
I think in the end, probably it all goes back to childhood, doesn't it? And I've been incredibly lucky in my life, like really lucky. So I was brought up by a single mum. I didn't know my dad. I lived on a council estate, was pretty poor, and I was lucky enough to end up in the British Cabinet. And the sort of question I ask myself is there a kid growing up in a North East Council estate somewhere today who's going to end up in the British Cabinet? And my sad answer to that is probably not. And I don't think that's right. And I want to change it. And that's always been my biggest motivation. And now we've got 1 million young people who are in this situation. That's just not, it just doesn't sit with me. It's not right. So that's why you sort of do these things. And as you say, to use your word, you try to make change.
You do. You do, and that's why we've invited Eve along today, because we really think Eve's going to be a future leader of this country.
Definitely.
And we believe it, Eve. We believe it.
Eve.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? I'm good, thank you. How are you?
We're saying the same thing at the same time. I don't know how that happened. No, I'm all right.
So, I'm 18. I'm 2 weeks away from my A-level results. What would you say to somebody in my position who's got the aspiration to work in the future but just doesn't quite know how, because the support and the services haven't been connected enough to provide the support that's required? I have additional needs myself, so what would you say to somebody in my position?
I would say that it's got to change, basically, because you're not alone. We have 1 million young people who are not in education, employment and training. 84% of them want to be. So there's a mismatch somewhere. Employers are saying we're short of skilled labour. Young people are saying we won't be in work. The system isn't working. And the system's, by the way, the school system. It's how schools work, it's how the labour market works, it's what employers do, it's how the welfare system works, employment, health, all of these things. And so there needs to be, in my view, a massive sort of change in the way that we set this thing up and what we say it's there to do, which is to help, enable, support young people and increase the opportunities available to them.
Totally. Nothing about us without us.
Correct, 100%.
So what would you say, so this comes at a massive time where a lot of STEM families like mine feel hopeless. All this change comes at a massive time.
Yeah.
So what would you say to those people that maybe don't feel heard, feel like they're not being represented? What would you say that this change is bringing to represent them?
Well, I think the voice of the young person is absolutely critical to all of this. So when we set up this review to look into young people and employment, one of the things I said from the outset is, look, we're going to have young people's voices at the heart of it. So we did opinion polling of young people. I went out and met young people. We did qualitative surveys of young people, just talking and listening to young people. And honestly, there's many reasons to be pessimistic about what's going on in the world, isn't there? And what's going on in terms of the jobs market and all that. But the reason for optimism is what young people bring, which is energy, ambition, aspiration, potential. Everybody's got something. Everybody's got something. And we've got to stop thinking that there's some people who have something and some people who don't. Everybody's got something to contribute. And I think that's where the public have got to. And the other reason for optimism is the mood's changed in the country. People know that this is just not sustainable. 1 in 7, 1 in 8 young people are not in education, employment and training. It's disastrous for their life chances, but it's a disaster for the economy. It's a disaster for the taxpayer. So we've got to change all that. And I think we've got sometimes there's just a moment in time when something becomes possible. And I think this is this moment.
So I went for an apprenticeship whilst I was looking at post-18 options. Unfortunately, I was rejected, but obviously everybody, you're going to face that at some point in life.
Yeah.
But approximately 1 in 20,000 get rejected from an apprenticeship.
Yep.
So 1 in 20,000 don't get an apprenticeship. They're fighting for that one tiny position.
Yeah.
So what would you say to that person that's been rejected that maybe is now feeling massive anxiety because they've got some kind of additional circumstance that means that their anxiety, it's easier to appease it and not try than have anxiety and fail?
I think it's really hard when you get rejected, and particularly if you get rejected and you get no feedback.
Yes.
And that often happens. So when I've talked to a lot of young people, the story is young people are soft and they're not bothered and they don't put in effort. Honestly, it's just a pile of you-know-what. It's just, young people applying for hundreds of jobs often, never hear anything back. And it's the silence that kills. It kills your confidence, but it also kills your hope. And so I think employers have really got to think about that, which is, how would you feel if you entered into a conversation and the other person was silent? It wouldn't feel great. So they really need to think about how they change to address that. First point. Second point is apprenticeships are really important, and you've just used the numbers. We don't have enough of them.
Yes.
And we need many more, and they need to be much more flexible, and they need to be geared towards young people and not older workers and all of that sort of stuff. So we're looking at how best to do that, because the countries that have got a lower NEET rate than we have, like Holland or Denmark or Germany, they have far higher numbers of apprenticeships. So we've got to create many more opportunities for young people.
So when I look for jobs,
Yeah.
I look for the disability confidence symbol.
Yeah.
There's very few, the jobs that I can apply for, there's very few that list that. How would you suggest that employers make people like me who have disabilities feel more confident in applying for those jobs when they're not displaying that symbol.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really important thing, because if you feel like you're entering into terrain that is not quite, it's stranger terrain rather than sort of friendly terrain, you're just much less likely to go there, aren't you? In truth, so that's what you're saying. So I think look, this is maybe the natural optimist in me. What I think is changing a bit is employers are beginning to recognise that they've got to recruit from a disparate, diverse pool of labour. Any employee you talk to now will tell you one thing. Doesn't matter whether in hospitality or technology, they're short of talent and short of skills. So they've got to start looking at different pools of talent. You've got 1 million young people, many with mental health, neurodiversity issues, etc., etc. So hold on a minute. There's some vested interest in here. You've got some skin in the game and think about how do you make your workplace, how do you set that workplace up so it's more amenable to those young people. I think increasingly employers realise that's what they've got to do. The government's got to help them.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi Lily.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I am very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So we're here today. You're part of the scheme. How are you finding it?
Good. This is my first proper week actually working. Because the first week it was like I was getting paid for being at school. We were just all sitting around tables, just chatting, really getting to know everyone who's actually a part of the scheme. But obviously not everyone is here, because there's different placements. So some people are working at Burger King, Revolution, and then obviously some people working here like me, and then there's a few others like Sheffield Wednesday and stuff like that. I can't remember some of the others. But yeah, there's like multiple placements, and it's been really fun, because usually in the summer you're like, first 2 weeks, fine, yes, freedom.
What's your relationship with school? Have you been in and out of school, or have you found school great, or have you had a bad relationship with school?
I'd say I had a bad relationship with school. Obviously, there's been like rocky parts.
Yeah.
Obviously, like everybody has their ups and downs of everything. But yeah, no, I haven't been in and out of school. I've attended, obviously, unless I've been ill and I've actually had a reason.
Did you enjoy
to be
school?
off? But yeah, some lessons.
And which were the lessons that you didn't like?
Spanish.
That's the same as my youngest son. He hates.
I got forced to do it. I told the teacher, I'm like, I really don't want to do it. Like, here, put me on a different pathway.
Yes.
Because obviously different pathways equal different subjects. So obviously the pathway I was on, which is the highest pathway you can get, which is really good, except for the fact that it includes Spanish. I said, I really don't want to do it. It's not going to be involving what I want to do later on in life, which obviously at the time, it's changed now. I wanted to be a vet. She was like, yes. Is a chihuahua going to be barking Spanish at me? No.
That's actually a good answer. Yeah, like, brilliant.
Everyone speaks, like, obviously, even if they're not fluent in English,
yes.
If someone comes to England from somewhere else, they learn to speak it as well.
But Lily, don't you agree that you're only going to do the best at a subject that you really enjoy, something that you really want to do? And I feel that schools are pushing subjects onto children that they don't really have any interest in.
Like my school, they've removed sociology. Sociology was amazing, but meanwhile they've kept Spanish. The only reason they still have Spanish is because they made it mandatory on a pathway. Otherwise, I'm not being funny, but nobody will want to do it, because it's not something that people are really interested in. Like, I get that it's nice to, like, know a bit of another language, but, like you say, schools shouldn't push that onto you, because they don't know how you're going to take that. Like, I could have taken Spanish like a completely different way. Like, I could have not wanted to go to that lesson.
And this opportunity that you've been given, who put you forward?
Safeguarding at my school, Handsworth Grange Community Sports College. They are absolutely the most amazing, most kindest women you will ever meet in your life.
That's brilliant.
Honestly, I honestly could not thank them enough for all that they've done for me throughout my years of school.
Do you feel like you've had a trusted adult at home or more at school?
I have a trusted adult at home, but obviously it's different because they're family.
Yes.
So it's nice to have a trusted adult at school who could give you their true and honest opinion. Like, for instance, if I asked my mom or sister if I look pretty, they could just be saying yes because
Just to keep you happy.
because they're related to me.
Yeah.
And obviously, like you said, they want to keep me happy. Meanwhile, if I actually asked a person at school, they could be more honest.
And you prefer that honesty?
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, because I have 2 sons that are neurodivergent, they have autism, and my youngest has ADHD. Are you diagnosed or?
Yeah, I've been diagnosed at a very young age. I have ADHD, I have autism, and I also have Turner syndrome.
I haven't heard of Turner syndrome. Could you explain what Turner syndrome is?
Basically, as everybody else, like, for instance, when you have Down syndrome, you have 47 chromosomes.
Yes.
When you're obviously born, like, in general, you normally have 46.
Yes.
I have 45 chromosomes.
Okay.
I am missing my sex chromosome, which means that my body and everything doesn't develop like everybody else's.
Does it develop at a slower rate? Or
Slower rate, and also it can cause you to, well, in my instance, obviously I don't know about everybody else's who has it, but not be able to have kids because my ovary hasn't developed. My ovaries are like scar tissue.
Okay.
There's literally nothing there, which means obviously for some people who will be watching this will be very happy or jealous of me because I will never have my period ever.
Yeah. Which is a hard thing to deal with, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the main thing everyone says to me when they find out
Has it affected your mental health being different? Feel like people haven't understood you because
I feel like they don't. One of my teachers did, but I feel like other people I've spoken to about it, they understand what I'm saying, but they don't see the effect that it actually has.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have an effect on my mental health, but at first when I found out, it was obviously like really sad and everything. I was like very confused, and all people, all people were telling me was, oh my God, you're so lucky you don't have to have your period, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah, that's it. And it's getting somebody to understand you, isn't it? And to actually help you through that.
Yeah.
And this is such an amazing opportunity for you now, isn't
Yeah.
it? And do you know what you want to do? Do you know?
Yeah. I would like to be a primary school teacher because I feel like primary school teachers in general, have most impact on children other than their, obviously, parents, because they're only like 100% around them 24/7 for 4 years of their life. Meanwhile, after that, you're at school all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like my primary school teachers, obviously, as well as my parents, obviously, have shaped the woman that I am today and made me the person that I am and allowed me to have confidence in myself through believing in me when I didn't really believe in myself, encouraging me to do things that I've never really wanted to try, but
I think,
giving
Lily,
me them
you're an
experiences.
absolutely amazing young person. I
Thank
think you are doing all the right things. You've got the right attitude, and I think you'll go very far in life. And
Thank
thank you
you.
very much for talking to us, Lily.